How about 20 minutes?
15 minutes. So if you want the real thing, you got to stay, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you a little taste right now, right? So I guess everyone's got to leave and come back in, right?
Yes.
A little more volume.
Yes.
You guys are crazy here. Nobody else does this, by the way. Nobody else has me do a short version and a long version. That's okay. That's okay. All right. So here's a short version. What am I telling you? I'm telling you the stuff that's going on out there. How many of you have paid your Realtor Action dues this year? You got to do that. You should be amazed what's going on in Sacramento, what they're trying to do to you. And everyone's against you everyone's against real estate except us, so we have to fight. But we've been doing good. You know what's happened so far? There was going to be a proposed law that was going to say every landlord in California had to be a Section 8 landlord. It was defeated.
Good.
Yay. There was another proposal that was going to say there should be a sales tax on commissions. Didn't happen. Yay. There's another one that would have said statewide there's going to be something called just cause eviction. You know what that means? That means you can't evict someone unless you have a good reason. Well, you don't want that, right? You want to evict someone whatever you want, right?
Yeah. It's your property.
Right, your property. They're paying the rent. What if they're paying the rent? They say, why are you evicting me? You say, you annoy me. That's why I'm evicting you. And you have that right normally. But in a place where there's just cause eviction, you can only evict them if they, don't do something wrong or they don't pay the rent. Obviously, you can evict someone for that. But that was defeated also, so that's all good. There's one that might not be defeated, so brace yourself. There might be you're not going to like it, but it could be a lot worse. And that means there's probably, somewhat likely that there's going to be a temporary statewide rent cap of 7% plus inflation. So in other words, the way it stands now, it would be like for the next 4 years, you could only raise your rent 7% plus inflation that year. And here's the good news, it wouldn't apply to single family homes. Unless you own more than 10 single family homes. So that might be the one negative thing that might get through, but the rest of the bad stuff probably isn't going to get through. And the only people fighting this bad stuff is C.A.R. So that's why we need your money. You know why we need your money? So we can we can contribute to the right people. So please, when your officers and Albert ask you to contribute, you got to contribute because we need money to do it. That's the only thing. Money talks in politics. You know that. And your dues money won't pay for that. We're not allowed to use dues money for politics. So you say, I pay dues already. What do I do with my dues money? Your dues money pays for the basic stuff like meat. Thank you very much. But anyway, we need special politics. You know your dues haven't gone up since 2002? I don't think C.A.R. dues are ever going to go up again. How do you like that? Your local dues and your N.A.R. dues go up a lot, don't they? C.A.R. dues never go up, which means I never get a raise. So it really is. Anyway, okay. Let me talk about some more stuff. I didn't mention this, dual agency. Is it legal in California to sell your own listing? Of course it is.
Yes.
Do you know there are 8 states now where you can't do that? Ooh, yeah. Do you know in the entire country of Canada you can't sell your own listing? Don't move to Canada. You know? But there's good news on agency this year. First of all, once again, it's legal to sell your own listing, but it's even easier to sell your own listing. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say you're representing the buyer and the seller. How many of you have ever been a dual agent? Both sides in the deal. Okay, so imagine you have a seller and the buyer. And your seller tells you something in confidence. They say something like, I'm going bankrupt next week. Or, my wife just got transferred to Texas. I have to move in a week. Whatever the buyer wants, I'll do it. So your seller tells you this. Of course, it's your buyer, too. Don't you think your buyer would love to know what your seller just told him?
Yeah.
So what takes precedence? Your duty to your seller to keep confidential what they told you, or your duty to your buyer, because remember, it's your buyer I'm talking about, to tell them everything that you know that may help their case. Do you know there's never been an answer to that question? So for 30 years, I've been telling realtors, when you represent both sides, tell both of your clients, don't tell me anything you don't want the other client to know, because I represent both of you. I've got good news for you, I don't have to say that anymore. The law now says, listen carefully, it says when you represent buyer and seller, if either one tells you something regarding their personal situation, their financial situation, their motivations, obviously they tell you this in confidence, you don't tell your other client. Which is, I think, what you would want the answer to be, don't you think? Yeah. In fact, you probably always thought that was the answer. Which means all these years you've been criminals, not doing the right thing. So now you're good. So you all with me on that? Yes. Your dual agent confidentiality trumps other things with your other client. Okay, so that's good news. Another thing, I'm sorry? Pardon?
A legal citation on that?
Yeah, but I don't have it in my mind. It's in the civil code, and it's mentioned on the agency form, actually. But I can cite you to it easily if you call me up at C.A.R. Another thing, remember all these years on the agency disclosure form? If you've heard me over the years, you probably heard me at one point say, you know what the dumbest law in California is? It's the agency law. And why do I say that? Because the agency law said you give an agency form to your buyer, but then you have to get the seller to sign the agency form you just gave your own buyer. Remember that?
No more.
Dumbest law in real estate. Because the listing agent already gave them that form. You're not even representing that seller. Why would you, the buyer's agent, need a seller signature on your agency? Dumb law. Gone. Fixed. It only took 35 years to fix it. And the law now says common sense. Buyer's agent gives an agency form to the buyer. Seller's agent gives one to the seller. You're done. You don't have to get the other client sign your agency, which was always done in the first place. You probably noticed on the agency form, there used to be that box, remember, in the middle of the page? It's not there anymore. You don't need it. Hooray. Good news. Now I need nominations for a new dumbest law in real estate. If any of you have a suggestion for what you think should be my new dumbest law in real estate, let me know. Because that was it. That was my dumbest law for 30 years. Okay? FERPTA, you don't like FERPTA? We'll talk about that. Okay. Did you also notice now on the purchase contract, when you write an offer, on paragraph 2, you have to write the agency confirmation, you have to write 4 names. Remember, your last 30 years, when you came to paragraph 2 on the contract, you said, name of the listing company, name of the selling company. That's all you had to do. Now, hopefully you've all noticed this, you have to write the listing company, the listing agent, your company, and your name. You got to write 4 names, and more importantly, 4 DRE numbers. So when you write an offer, you need to know 4 DRE numbers as you're writing that offer. Yours, you probably know yours. Your own brokers, you can probably figure that out, but you got to know the listing broker and the listing agent. You need all 4 of those numbers. They're right there for you on MLS. If you don't know how to do it, ask one of your friends. They'll show you how to do it. It's easy to access it, but it is required by law. And one other thing, when I say you need to put the listing broker's DRE number, I don't mean necessarily the listing broker, I mean the company. Because a lot of time, if a real estate company is a corporation, there is a listing broker, and he or she has a number, but then there's a corporate number for the corporation, right? Yes. And that's the one you got to write on the offer when you're the buyer's agent, and it says seller's brokerage company. You know what else I like? It used to say listing agent, selling agent. Remember your first day in real estate when they told you the buyer's agent is called the selling agent? Remember you said, what? Say that again? That doesn't really sound right. Buyer's agent is called the selling. It confuses people. It confuses me. Do you know it's gone? Yeah. all of the forms now, you will never see the word selling agent. You know what it's going to say? Buyer's agent. Yeah. Yeah. Good news. Seller's agents and buyer's agent. Forget this selling agent nonsense. Who the heck is a selling agent? Forget this. Seller and buyer. Yay. All right. So that's all good news, I think. All that agency stuff. Dual agency is legal. Yay. It's easier to be a dual agent. You keep confidential information. Good. The agency, no more selling agent, and no more second agency form to the other client. The only bad thing is you have a little more work to do when you're writing the offer. On paragraph 2, you got to figure out 4 DRE numbers. That's a little more work. Okay? You got that? You're all good with that? Let's talk about the DRE for a second. Ooh, DRE. Ooh. Okay. Anyway. There's no commissioner right now. Did you know that? You know what that means? You can do whatever you want. No. They're still there. We're trying to get one of the ex-C.A.R. presidents to be the commissioner. We may work, may have to, we don't know yet. But anyway, what do you need to know from the DRE? Well, there's good news and bad news. I'll give you the good news first. The good news is a couple of things. Do you know the law for your whole career has always said when you have your client sign a contract, you're supposed to give your client a hard copy immediately. I bet a lot of you haven't been doing that for years. Because you probably use zip form, and zip form sends electronic copies. But you know, they never changed that law. So all these years, when you were using zip forms, you were probably violating the law when you didn't give your client a hard copy immediately. Good news, you don't have to anymore. Yay. You no longer have to give. How many of you, be honest with you, haven't been doing that anyway? Be honest. See, you are all criminals, now you're good. Okay. You don't have to give a hard copy of anything to your clients.
How soon practicable they need to get a copy?
Exactly, as soon as practicable, whatever that means. Zip form sends it pretty quickly, right? Zip form sends a copy to your client. So that's, the law says it, as he said, as soon as practicable, whatever that means. Nobody knows what that means. Do it pretty soon, but you all do it. Okay. Another thing from the DRE. Remember all these years, you have a real estate license, right? And you give it to your broker, and your broker holds it for you. Okay. And then, God forbid you change offices, you gotta go to your broker, give me my license, you take it back, you take out your magic marker, you cross off the old broker's name, you write in the new broker's name, you give it to the new broker, right? You know you don't have to do this anymore. No paper licenses. Any of you brokers, if you have copies of your agent's licenses, just burn them. You know, you don't need them. They're not necessary. You don't need them. No more paper licenses. Yeah. See all the good news I'm giving you today? All right. But I promised you bad news, right? All right. The DRE is getting really serious about enforcing the rules on advertising. You have to put your DRE number on everything. I don't know why, I've been talking about this for a year and a half, but since I'm in real estate, I can't help but look at real estate signs. I'd say half the signs I see still don't have a DRE number. Are you guys crazy? Do you want to get fined $200 per sign per day? They're starting to not warn realtors anymore. They're just starting to send you a letter. You owe us $200 because we saw your sign and it didn't have your number on it. Please put your DRE numbers on your signs, your flyers, newspaper ad, magazine ad, Craigslist ad, website, Facebook, Twitter. I hate to tell you this, every single Facebook post, if it's business related, is supposed to have your DRE number. Not just the home page, not just the ultimate page. Each post, each Twitter, if any of you guys do tweets, each tweet business related is supposed to have your DRE number. Okay? You all with me on this? 3 things. You have to have 3 things. Your name, your number, and the broker's name. Not the broker's number. You don't need the broker's DRE number. You only need the broker's DRE number on paragraph 2 of the purchase contract. What if you're a broker? On your marketing, do you have to put your DRE number? No, not your general marketing. If you are the broker and it's your listing, right, then of course you're going to put it. And all brokers, you always need your DRE number on your business card, your website, and your Facebook page. But on signs, for example, let's say you're a broker, you work all by yourself. You're a sole proprietor, and you have a for sale sign. You don't even need your license number, because you're a broker. Isn't that funny? You still need it on your business cards and your website, but you don't need it on marketing. If you are the broker, you're the only broker there. I always say put it there anyway, because the DRE doesn't really know if you're the sole broker, so they cause troubles anyway, but technically, brokers don't have to put their DRE number. I said the wrong thing a second ago. Even on your own listings, you don't have to put it, okay? Because you're the broker. Why? Because they know who you are by your name. They know who the broker is. Whereas if you're an agent, they don't necessarily know who you are without the name. Okay? Y'all with me on this? You don't want to get this $200 fine, do you? Put your DRE number on everything. It's that simple. Everything. DRE number. Are there any exceptions to this? Yes. You can have a generic sign that just says open house. If it doesn't have your name on it, it doesn't need your number. Or you can have a for sale sign, just says for sale. But who wants to do that? Don't you want your name on your for sale sign? Of course you do. If your name is there, everything else has to be there. What does everything else mean? Name of the broker and your DRE number. Does it have to say DRE? What if I bought 1,000 signs last year and it says BRE? Use them. They don't care. Nobody cares if it says BRE, DRE, CalBRE. In fact, all it has to say is just license number. That's all you need. You don't even need license, just LIC. Pound sign. Just make sure the number is there. You all with me on this? You loving the DRE? You're not loving the DRE? Yes?
How about commercial?
Yeah, this applies to commercial. Anyone with a commercial license, you got to follow all of these rules. Okay? Pardon?
You're a realtor and you give away to your client.
Give away to clients a gift. And you want to
Bottle of wine.
Bottle of wine. You don't have to put your DRE number on the bottle. That's good. No, that's an honest, good question. Here's another thing. Good news. I see some of you have name badges. Ellen, does your name badge have your DRE number on it?
No.
You're good, you don't have to. On your name badge, if you wear a t-shirt or a hat or a name badge, that type of stuff doesn't need DRE. That's good, right? All right, thanks. So you're okay, you're not in trouble, that's good. All right? Okay. What else is going on? I'm still going here? Helen?
Yeah.
Tell me to stop, because I'm saving the good stuff for later, by the way. I'm not giving you the good stuff. The good stuff, you got to come back for the hour-and-a-half version at 9:45. I'm giving you a little of the good stuff, but most of the good stuff I'm saving. Okay. Did you know, if you're a landlord, there's a new law that says anytime you have a new tenant, you have to disclose to the tenant if the property's in a flood zone. Did you know that? I mean, when you sell a house, obviously you have to tell the buyer if they're in a flood zone, earthquake zone, fire zone, Mello-Roos zone. But that's easy. You hire an NHD company, right? They do an NHD report. They take all the liability and the insurance. They do it for you. That's when you sell. Up until now, when you rent, you didn't have to tell the tenant anything. Now you do. Not earthquake, not fire, flood zones. And there's a form for this. Tenant flood zone disclosure.
How would the owner know if he's in the flood?
Aha! How the heck do you know if you're in a flood zone?
NHD.
There are many possibilities here. One of them is talk to your friendly NHD rep, the one you give all of your sale business to. He will probably help you out for a very minimal, if not non-existent fee.
No charge.
No charge. He is going to help you. So there you go right there. And if you don't like him for some reason, you can go on FEMA's website and figure it out, or you can even go to the LA County Assessor's Office and figure it out. But why not go to him? or any other NHD company, it is mandatory there's a form. But they'll do it for you, and then you don't have to worry about the form. They take care of that. Okay? You with me on that? That's the only new mandatory form that's come out in the last year, the tenant flood zone disclosure. Do you provide the form too, young man? Do you provide the form too?
No, we don't have the form, but we provide the.
So he'll tell you the answer, but then you still got to fill out the form.
Yeah.
You still got to give the form to the tenant. Okay? Get that? He'll tell you yes or no, then you fill out the form. All right? You with me on that? All right. Do we have any other landlords in this room? You want to know the latest?
Yeah.
You sure? You're not going to let me just kidding. Today, if you give a tenant a 3-day notice to pay or quit, it is calendar days. Today's Thursday, right?
Right.
So if you give a tenant a 3-day notice to pay or quit because they're behind on their rent, you give it to them today, the rent is due Friday, Saturday, Sunday. September 1st, that changes. September 1st, it becomes business days. So if you give them a 3-day notice today, they don't have to pay until, you're both wrong, okay? Tomorrow, Friday would be day 1. Monday would be day 2. Tuesday is when the rent is due. So this is not yet 2 months. You got 2 months worth of calendar days, and then it turns into business days. Another thing, same thing. Let's say you ever do an eviction against someone, you file an unlawful detainer. Do you know if they don't respond to the unlawful detainer in 5 days, they've defaulted? Well, that 5 days is also turning into business days, September 1st. Okay? So that's a change too. What else do you need to know? Here's a good one. You know what low-flow plumbing fixtures are? You know, basically everything in California built since '94 is supposed to have low-flow plumbing fixtures. But if you're like me, you own a house older than '94, right? So if your house is older than '94, you're supposed to upgrade your plumbing. So your toilets, showers, and indoor faucets are low flow. Now I'm a real estate lawyer, and I live in Culver City, and I haven't done it. How many of you are criminals like me? Why do I not? I'm a real estate lawyer. How come I haven't done it? How come you haven't done it either? Because you know what we've all figured out?
No police.
Nobody's enforcing this law. No one in Culver City is knocking on doors. I want to check your toilet. I know this, you know this, so I don't really worry about it. What if I sell my house? Well, I have to disclose to the buyer that my fixtures are not low flow, but I still don't have to bring them up to code. Now, if I lived in the city of Los Angeles, it's a point of sale mandate. But you know what? I've noticed in LA, they don't even check. Because you sign on the 9A report, yes, I have low flow fixtures, but no one checks to see if you really do. So I don't think people even do it in LA. Why am I telling you all this? Because up until recently, it was just single family owner occupied homes like mine and yours. That is no longer the case. The requirement to have low-flow plumbing fixtures in all pre-94 housing is now rentals also, multi-unit also, condos also, commercial also, no exceptions. If you got a toilet in California, it better be low-flow. I hope the West San Gabriel Association of Realtors toilets out here are low-flow. Because they gotta be low flow, there are no exceptions anymore. Now, having said that, I still haven't noticed any enforcement going on. But one day, the city of San Gabriel, or the city of wherever you live, is probably gonna realize we could probably collect some money if we start checking these houses out and they're not in compliance, we'll fine them. I'm just giving you a heads up. Up until this year, you only had to worry about this if you owned your own single-family detached home. Now it applies to everywhere, okay? Now there's a form, right? the water conserving plumbing fixtures, and carbon monoxide detector form. You know you have to give that to every buyer.
Yes.
But you know, that form doesn't tell the buyer that you have them. Have you ever read that form? All it says is, properties are supposed to have them, and these are what low-flow plumbing fixtures are. It describes what they are, what the specs are, 2.2 gallons per flush, something like that. But there is a place on the seller property questionnaire where the seller is asked the question, are your plumbing fixtures okay? You know what I always advise sellers? Say no. Unless you're sure that every single faucet and every single toilet and every single shower is low flow, it's safer just to say no, as far as, I'm not sure if they are, right? Because they ask you, so are they all in compliance? I don't know. It's fair, it's all right to say that. And then, of course, the buyer may say, well, put them into compliance. And the seller says, no, I'm not going to do it. And then the buyer, it's their problem once they buy it. The seller's not responsible after close, unless you're in the city of LA. But they don't seem to be enforcing it there either. Then on the TDS, the transfer disclosure statement, first page of the TDS, there's a box at the bottom of the right corner that says water conserving plumbing fixtures. You know what I say to people? Don't check the box unless you're 100% sure that every fixture you have is definitely low flow. So there's a question on the SPQ, there's a checkbox on the first page of the TDS. Okay? And there's, I mean, don't sellers go, oh, I better answer that yes, because otherwise I'll get in trouble. No, you get in trouble if it's yes and it's not true. If you say no, you're not in trouble because no one's enforcing the law. But if you say yes and it's not true, the buyer could sue you and say, hey, you got to upgrade all the fixtures because you said they were low flow and they're not. You see what I'm saying? See why it's safer to say, no, I'm not in compliance? Because the city's not going to look at your TDS. Right? See what I'm saying?
Right.
Y'all with me?
Yep.
I think I've given enough good stuff. That's not even the good stuff. You got to come back at 9:45 if you want the real good stuff. One question.
There's a factory in Sacramento, the legislature, that is pumping out laws. We'll say 2,000, more or less, I don't know. They're pumping out enough laws to fill this whole room of what you shall do and shall not do.
Yeah.
Most of us don't even know what those laws are.
That's why you come to these
Walking around
meetings.
like you know.
That's why you come to these meetings.
How do we protect
I will
ourselves?
tell you the important laws. Don't worry. If you come back at 9:45, I'll tell you all the important laws. We'll see you then.